guess like wearing the different hats, there definitely is. And I'm just thinking like in terms of having these conversations like with peers, because I think that was part of the question is like, how do we get away from that, right? Like, I think, or I believe decolonizing spaces, right, is bringing in the other ethnicities or the other communities, honoring their ways of being. So Afrocentric values, right? So community, communication, peers, like understanding your values. So I would say the short part is that's kind of how we get away from being taken advantage of or having black stories, black value commodified, but then the compensation is not the same. So as was how like you said, Nike launches something. Okay, great, but how many black communities are paid from that proceeds? Not very many. Even LeBron James, he has his own shoe. That's great, but Nike is making a lot more than he is off those shoes. So I feel like there's ways absolutely to mobilize especially in this digital era. I would say, and I'm going to pass it because now we have our lead speaker back with us. But I really think that it's part of one of my beliefs is, and writing a book about it. But this is part of what we did in the programming. But everybody is a business. Every individual is a business. Like if we look at Stats Canada or whatever, the different metrics of how countries are graded. We look at the household economic income. So each household is an economic unit. So that means each individual in the household is an economic unit or a generator. And we look at slavery, right? Transatlantic slavery, in these methods, like they are mapping to create value based on the individual's inputs or based on a household. So like when we know these are the facts, I really believe that it comes down to the understanding, like regardless of what career path or interest you want, it's understanding that you functionally are a business. So every single day we invest in things every day, what we eat, what we watch, what we listen to, how we sleep, if we don't sleep. And so in our lives, personally, professionally, we have assets and liabilities, simple. And we have to, again, like success on our terms, I would say comes back to like whether we're saying wealth means emotional, mental, physical, financial, like that's again not colonizing it. Wealth and abundance is holistic. And so for me, that's like the Afrocentric side of things, or especially in the consulting or doing work, that's also when we're having conversations with the Mi'kmaq or other indigenous, like that's a very big part of culture. And so I would say that's also how we, the longer answer is like understanding our individual values and communicating what our value is, amongst our peers, so that people consistently can say, hey, I'm new in industry. How come I'm getting a pay gap or the offer, for myself is different from my peer who the only difference is that they're of a different ethnicity. But having these conversations, I think puts everybody in a position where they can show up, they can be at the table and understand their value. The other side of your question, we're kind of busy during the year, but especially with certain conversations or to speak on certain subjects, absolutely those things pick up in February because people are saying, okay, well, here's what we're doing in February. Can you speak on this topic? And so I think those kind of conversations also pick up. But I know that you feel that the same way, or other people who are not just in my space in entrepreneurship, but yes, long-winded. I'm going to pass it over.